The Unhappy Hour on the new AmericanMedia.com.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very, very special episode of the Unhappy Hour here on the TNAM Radio Network here at the NewAmericanMedia.com. My name is Brian Engelman. I am your host. Yep, still this guy. For now. Still doing it. Getting it done. And somebody who's been on the program but hasn't been on for a little while, Brandon Odell, coming back for an episode of Strictly Browns. Yes. Why are we bringing Brandon back in? Well, because it's NFL draft time. Come on, man. You know why. And don't worry, I'm going to bring in Zach Barris. Whoa. Interesting. My computer is pausing and freezing. That song does not have a natural drop right there. Alright, we're back. Cool. What the heck was I saying? Oh, what I was saying is that don't worry, we'll bring in NBA scout Zach Barris, and we are going to talk about that punk Kelly Olynyk who ruined Kevin Love's season and has now made it infinitely more difficult for the Cleveland Cavaliers to win a title. Lord Almighty, I have been stewing on this for a couple of days now, and we'll bring him in probably right after Brandon and do another show. But make sure you check out all the archived shows. That's the point. Even if you miss us on a daily basis, fine. A couple places you need to check out. TheNewAmericanMedia.com. TheNewAmericanMedia.com, because the old American media has failed us. 3 things on the right-hand side of that page. One is the TNAM radio button. That's where you click play to listen to this show live. When does it go live? It's internet radio. It's flexible. Whenever it works best for our guests. And we try to go every Friday as well. It's just whenever we decide to go live. That's when we go live. So, what you need to do is you need to sign up and make sure that you're connected with us on Twitter and Facebook. So, at thenewamericanmedia.com on the right-hand side, it's the TNAM radio button link. Underneath that is our Facebook and Twitter feeds. You have the box right there. You can click it, and you can follow us, and you can like our page right from there. Just remember thenewamericanmedia.com. That's your hub. Actually, now that you got me thinking about it, I should probably have a hub, some kind of link to our YouTube page right there. I mean, I guess I do. I have a featured video thing, but that's not always our content. I think right now it's still the Edward Snowden interview with John Oliver, formerly of Daily Show. But anyway, on Twitter we're at American_media_. Link up with us at American_media_. Seeking truth, challenging dogma, and having fun, we ask you to join our mostly civil conversation. Lots of Cleveland sports and other sports, and lots of liberty-minded political current event type things. That's what we do, okay? So maybe you like our sports, maybe you like our politics, maybe neither, but we find us fascinating. Sure. Either way, make sure you lock up with us over there. On Facebook, you could do a search for The New American Media. Put spaces in between, The New American Media, and then you can find our page and like it that way, or off thenewamericanmedia.com. But finally, I want to thank everybody. 450,000 video views. YouTube.com/thenewamericanmedia. That's YouTube.com/thenewamericanmedia. We just clicked that button to monetize it, and that helps. It's, a couple of pennies here or there if you let those ads play. Just think of it as you're tossing a couple of pennies in the wishing well, because if a few 100,000 of you guys do that, it helps pay for all of the fees and time associated with the past 4 years of content. So thank you. Now, without further ado, let's get Mr. Brandon Odell into the program to talk some Cleveland Browns regarding this NFL draft. I think I'm excited for the draft. I mean, I know I am, but...
Hello.
Brandon, you are live on the Unhappy Hour. How you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. Just finishing up some of the normal everyday duties of being a husband and a father, such as making lunches and doing dishes and getting ready to relax and talk a little football.
Excellent, buddy. Welcome back, man. I was telling people that they need to check out the archives of our show, and that you haven't been on for a while. But we used to do a segment called Strictly Browns, and we would try to do this all the time. But probably to save your sanity and your health, we backed off that a little bit. But hope springs eternal in the hopes and minds of a Cleveland I won't say Cavaliers, and I won't bring up Kevin Love right now, but in the Cleveland Browns fans' mind, this is draft time. This is where we're one draft away from getting Tom Brady that can stabilize that crucial position for a decade and a half. Or the linebacker like the Ray Lewis that could be there for a decade and a half and just bring multiple titles. Every draft is one draft away from it, and this is an interesting one. So I know you and I didn't have a lot of opportunity to pregame and kind of produce and discuss how we were going to do this. I'm just wondering, what direction do you want to start off in? Do you want to talk about our current team needs, the trade rumors we're hearing, or just go through your top 20 players? What are you thinking?
Well, why don't we just kind of look at some of the players that are most likely to be both available and targeted by the team when they're selecting at number 12 and number 19.
All right, perfect. Now, of course, that is usually going to start with the quarterback. This year, I suppose, is no different. Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. What are your personal thoughts on these two quarterbacks? Do you see franchise quarterback on either these two or any of the other air quote second-tier quarterbacks?
It's kind of a hard question to answer because every single year there are these players that are targeted and looked upon as being quote-unquote franchise-level quarterbacks. However, it's a very, very select few that actually live up to the billing. So, you have to kind of balance your, personal sense of what you feel about these players with what the national pundits are saying as well. So, in the case of Jameis Winston, everyone nationally is saying he is going to be he is the overall number one pick. There is little doubt. Although actually in the last week or two, things have been waning just slightly, but there's little doubt that he's not going to go number one to the Tampa Bay Bucks. So, you kind of take Jameis Winston out of the equation, even though personally, once again, you talk about those personal feelings. I don't know what to make of him. I mean, he just seems he definitely has red flags that your number two guy, Marcus Mariota, simply does not have. But then on the other side, he has run a more complex pro-style offense in college. He operates under center much more than Mariota ever has, and ultimately he's believed to be much more pro-ready than Marcus Mariota. So, but then on the other side of things, Marcus Mariota is, your traditional, A-grade perfect citizen that unfortunately you can't really, Jameis Winston can't really hold a candle to in that regard. So,
well, you think about some of these quarterbacks, Tim Tebow, whether you love or hate the guy, fine, but I mean, he's never gotten in trouble. He's always been good in the community, generally liked, unless you just hate him for being so smug and or whatever reason and pushing his faith, whatever. But generally, he came out as a guy with a pretty good reputation, whereas someone like Johnny Manziel or Jameis Winston, for very different reasons, have a lot of those warning signs written all over them, and you just go, I don't know, is their talent worth the risk? And I don't know. I would stay away from Jameis Winston personally. I don't like his immaturity. If you're at a major college like that, and you have the spotlight on you, and you know it, you want a Heisman. I don't like it. I think that's a warning sign that you're going to get someone that doesn't take it seriously and somebody that could really put your program in jeopardy, just like Johnny Manziel did. Yeah,
and the big difference though there is that Manziel was selected, number 22, whereas Winston is looking to be the top overall guy. It's a little easier to accept that risk toward the bottom of the first round than it is right at the very top.
That's a fair point.
I certainly see what you are saying regarding Winston. My feeling is that it's going to be a moot point because whoever is going to be selecting him is going to be selecting him well before the Cleveland Browns number comes up, barring some sort of unforeseen trade circumstance or scenario that might present itself.
What if Ray Farmer has pulled the trigger a couple of times. He makes moves. He does things to make things happen. He doesn't just sit there and wait. He's aggressive, in trading with like stock markets, stock picks and whatnot. a lot of professionals say, the biggest mistake people make is that they make too many trades. They need to, and they pick specific stocks. What they should do is diversify, buy some sort of mutual fund with a blend of 100 different companies, and you just forget about it and just let it do its thing over the long term and don't freak out. But Ray Farmer was a little bit like Kevin Costner in the movie Draft Day. He was the most active person bouncing around the first round last year, and because of what he did, we're sitting with 2 number 1 picks. And I guess my question then to you, Brandon Odell, would be, what do you think we do with those? Do you think we stay where we're at, or do you think there's a chance we package and move up to the 1 or 2 or 3 pick to take one of these guys if they're up there?
Frankly speaking, I mean, it's always fun to fantasize about going up to try to get the big name quarterback. But let's look at the most recent time that has happened. If the Washington Redskins had the opportunity, do you think they would make that same exact move for RG3 all over again? I don't think so.
It reminds me of Mike Ditka giving away his whole team for Ricky Williams. Yeah, it's sexy at the time. You make headlines, you make a splash, but does it work out ultimately? In those 2 cases, I mean, RG3, the book isn't done on him yet, but with all the injuries, people are kind of moving along past him, saying, all right, it's time for a new direction. And that's scary, just how short your shelf life could be in the NFL sometimes. But, yeah, I think the Redskins would definitely want what did they give up? 3 number 1 picks for? I forget exactly what the haul was for him, but it was a
3
lot.
3 1s and a 2, I believe.
Whew, that is a lot. Yeah.
Yep.
So you think we might just sit there where we're at?
What I'm saying is that I don't think that the end justifies the means, because, frankly speaking, if you can, and once again, I mean, I guess, if it ends up working out, then great, but, chances are is it's not going to end up being a sure thing. And even if you were a sure thing, let's say, RG3 had a great, he was the Rookie of the Year over Andrew Luck, but certainly injuries and his style of play have derailed his career considerably. So you factor in all those different things. I think they stay put, and I think if you're talking about the players that they need to target, I'm sure that you've heard some of the names floating around as well, and probably the number 1 name that I keep hearing about is the nose tackle from Washington, Danny Shelton.
And that's been a key position for the Browns, is that they need to lock up that interior defensive line, especially with some of the injuries they've had over the past years. Their secondary is incredible. Their linebacking core has some talent, but that middle of the running game, on the defensive line, that is a trouble spot for them. For sure.
We were dead last in the NFL in defending the run last year, and simply unacceptable in my book. And I think you start by getting the biggest, nastiest run defender that you can possibly find at the position where you're drafting. And hands down, I think that is the biggest need for this team right now, outside of quarterback, of course. But, once again, we still don't know what we have out of Johnny Manziel either. And, we spent a first-round pick last year on him. So I do believe, personally, I think getting the run defense figured out, I think, would be our primary order of business. And I definitely do believe that, Danny Shelton, he's supposed to be a monster, 340 pounds, basically just has been favorably compared to Haloti Ngata, and that worked out pretty well for the Baltimore Ravens. So I could see a scenario where Browns fans would be pretty satisfied with that selection.
Yeah, quite a weird situation today. I don't know if you saw Ray Lewis tweeting out about the Baltimore protests yesterday, but it's just interesting. Ray Lewis calling for peace. It's like, wasn't this guy involved in a murder at a nightclub, and he got off the charges? And it's definitely, as a Cleveland fan, since Baltimore stole our team, we're definitely not fans of Baltimore in general. But yeah, they Ozzie Newsome and crew have done a really good job drafting players that have lasting power. The type of picks that we need to make. I don't know exactly what the formula is to make sure that happens. And of course, injury and stupidity, Josh Gordon with stupidity and injuries. Those happen all the time. But in general, Ray Farmer, he said he wants to build through the draft. And I guess with Mike Pettin as a head coach, do you think there's an extra emphasis put on the defense because Mike Pettin's the defensive guy, and he said, look, if you brought me in here to be the head coach, defense is what I do really, really, really well if I have some great players. I can crush it, which can lower what your offense needs to give me. So let me do the thing that I excel in, and let me draft me defense. Draft me defense if you can. Do you think there's any of that going on behind the scenes? And if so, I mean, I guess we're probably just speculating, but I don't know. Could you envision a lot of these conversations happening, or do you think Mike Pettin deserves to get some more defensive guys to prove his full value to the team?
Well, I just think that supposedly everything that Browns fans have heard is that Pettin and Farmer operate very well with one another, and that for the most part they are on the same page with many of the decisions they make. I think Pettin has a great deal of input into the decisions that are made, but ultimately the final roster decisions, I think that is what Ray Farmer is being paid to evaluate, and that's what he pays his scouting staff their money for. So I think that certainly Pettin has some input in it, but it's Ray Farmer's pick to make, and sink or swim. We'll see how it goes. But ultimately, I think that yes, the top available run stuffer, Danny Shelton, I think would be a wonderful selection. I think it would be even better if somehow he managed to drop a little bit and we were able to pick him up at number 19 and perhaps get the best available wide receiver at number 12. Or even the combination of another edge rusher and an inside run stuffer as the 2 first-round picks. I wouldn't be necessarily opposed to that either, because let's face it, you can never have too many guys that are successful at rushing the quarterback. And you look at Barkevius Mingo, and this was a guy that was a number 6 overall pick, and he has been a solid role player, but as far as actually being a dangerous defender, I don't think anyone would put him into that category.
Yeah,
that's
far from star. He came in, he was really lanky, needed to build up some strength, and just switching schemes and stuff. It's tricky on a player, but he does have talent. It's just a matter of are they utilizing him properly? And you talk about the Shelton guy. If Danny Shelton out of Washington is there, okay, maybe that's a good pick right there. Let's imagine then at number 12, let's say Danny Shelton is not available. He's been picked. Who else do you like in the top, maybe 10 to 20 range? Who do you think is a really good pick there at 12 if they're still there? Obviously thinking, Kevin White, Amari Cooper, some of these guys, Winston and Mariota, they're gone. Who do you think we might have a chance at if he's not available, that Danny Shelton?
You're hearing some different names about some of these, I want to say kind of like the second tier of receivers. Some of the names that have started to shoot up draft boards much more recently. I don't know if you're familiar with the name Brashad Perriman, out of Central Florida. Blake Bortles was throwing the ball to him for a few years, but actually Perriman had his best year as this past season without Blake Bortles throwing him the ball. So that certainly says something about his ability. He ran a sub 4.25 40 time at his pro day. His father is former, I believe he played for the Lions. Brett Perriman, former wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. So he has an NFL pedigree. Certainly would be able to lean on his father as far as knowing what it takes and what to do to be able to be a successful pro. The big knock on him is just simply the fact that he has some simple concentration drops, a la Braylon Edwards.
Braylon Edwards, of course.
Do you want to take that chance on a guy like that? But
a guy that hits home runs a lot. You mean a guy that'll hit home runs a lot, but he strikes out a lot too?
Yeah, I guess that's a good way of saying it. But he may not even be there at number 19. He's shooting up the draft boards as quickly as he has been. Don't be surprised if the Browns don't grab him at number 12. I don't think anybody would be overly shocked if that occurred. Some other names, wide receiver-wise, certainly Devontae Parker is kind of the consensus number 3 that has been linked to the Browns for a long time. But once again, there's possibilities of him not being there when we're selecting either, since he actually played at Louisville with Teddy Bridgewater for a few years there, and they have a nice chemistry together. So certainly I'm sure Bridgewater would be lobbying to get his old buddy there to Minnesota. I believe they pick it like maybe number 10, so a couple picks prior to us. But what are some other names? Nelson Aguilar out of USC.
Minnesota is actually at 11, and the Browns are at 12.
11.
Yeah, so
okay.
Up one.
But Nelson Aguilar, a guy from your neck of the woods there at USC, he's a name that's shooting up draft boards, supposed to be one of the most polished NFL-ready wide receivers outside of Amari Cooper. But you think about that, and you get shades of Brian Robisky there. Great hands, but what are you going to do with them kind of a thing. So, there are definitely some wide receivers available. I think that if they don't decide to go wide receiver in the first round, if they go with some edge rushers or edge rusher inside, defensive lineman kind of a thing, certainly look for them to look at maybe a home run threat, deep threat type of wide receiver early in the second round.
Okay. And I guess then, knowing that Ray Farmer is not, well, I could say he's not unwilling, or he's very willing, instead of the double negative, you're the English guy. I think I did that right, or I didn't do it unwrong. What about if Ray Farmer does jump in and participate? Because the worst kept secret is that the Eagles want to go up and get Mariota. So there might be a way that there could be a multiple team participation. There might be one team that is willing to give up this year to build picks for next year. There might be a team that's willing to grab something now, maybe an asset, maybe a current player. There is a possibility the Browns could continue to stockpile, because that kind of has been the pattern, is get an extra pick, and then it's easier to play next year. That seems to be a little bit of what I might expect to see. I don't know. Do you entertain similar weird possibility thoughts as well, Brandon? Because it just seems like something Ray Farmer would do. So instead of we're at 12 and 19, maybe we end up at 15, 20, and 27, along with a second-round pick next year or something.
I mean, I guess I'll believe it when I see it. It's so hard to speculate. Everyone has been trying to put the Browns' name involving the Browns in a possible trade with the Eagles, or even the Browns themselves, to get up to number 2 to get Mariota. I personally just don't see it happening. It's so hard to speculate on draft day trades. So I mean, did anybody see the Browns Buffalo trade coming last year? Absolutely not. So some of these things, even the coaches and the front office people don't actually think are going to occur until they actually do. So for me, here, a few days before the draft, as just an innocent bystander to try to really speculate what's going to happen. I mean, Chip Kelly is one of the most perplexing, enigmatic figures in pro sports, not just the NFL. So who knows what he's going to do?
That's actually a good point. But you know what I do like? I like that in the discussion of these possibilities, I hope that maybe more GMs would be willing to play games, to make deals. Because I just think it makes the whole process more fun. And it's like, if everybody's clamoring for that wide receiver, will they trade up and do it? Oh, the commissioners brought a card to the... it just brings this whole extra level of excitement to the draft. And, it's like the jokers in a deck of cards, or, it's just the wild card that you're not expecting.
Joker. Rules for playing poker.
Draw and stud poker. Oh, that's from a Simpsons, people. If you're not aware, that was what was that? That was the Simpsons impersonating
that was
Sean
the
Connery
casino episode.
Yes, it was. But that was from the Oh yes, that's right. Because in
That was
syndication they
actually
cut that.
one of the unseen the deleted scenes or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say like in syndication they cut that one out. Rules for Drawnstadt Polka. Okay. Anyway, who do you like maybe in the second round? Have you given that much thought to it, or yeah, I guess have you given as much thought to who might still be there after the first 32 are taken?
I mean, Devin Smith, if they don't have a wide receiver that they've picked yet, I think there are a lot of people that really are high on him. And with some of the problems with some of the marijuana issues with a few of these high-profile players like Shane Ray and Randy Gregory. I mean, who knows if a couple of them don't start slipping. And and then speaking of issues, the other name that I'll throw out at you, and once again, I mean, do the Browns decide to take a crack on one of these guys? Who knows? But Dorial Green-Beckham is a wide receiver who I believe originally played for Missouri and was cut from the team because of disciplinary issues, and kind of a similar situation to Josh Gordon. And if we were able to get him in the second round, here's a guy who actually size, speed, hands combination would easily be ranked as the number one overall receiver in the draft had he actually lived up to his billing and not gotten in trouble. So, I mean, you look at Josh Gordon, we ended up giving up a second-round pick for him. And all things considered, I mean, yeah, it looks kind of stupid right now, but I think that was probably a smart move on former GM Tom Heckert's part. And, if any of the other GMs in the NFL had known how much Josh Gordon would have flashed, pardon the pun, his first year and really come out of his his shell in his sophomore season. Every single other GM, maybe saving a select handful, would have made that same move. So, taking a chance on a guy who might be a big risk but also a great reward in the second round is not that far out of the question. And I think that if the Browns had a chance to do it again, I don't think they would risk a first-round pick, but I think that they certainly a scenario could present itself where they let go of a second rounder in order to get one of these really premier athletes in terms of talent, but maybe not necessarily premier level-headedness, so to speak. So Dorial Green-Beckham, another guy to really think about, especially if you like Calvin Johnson's dimensions there in the red zone.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which way we go on that. It's like, do you want the right type of guys in there, or do you want the home run versus strikeout kind of player? And it's like we've just gone through this. We passed up a lot of great receivers in last year's draft with 2 picks. We had a lot of opportunities to upgrade the wide receiver position, hoping that Josh Gordon was going to get it figured out. I mean, the team knew before the draft, okay, fine, only a day or two, but they knew that he was going to be gone for the season. They didn't know whether they were going to get him for 6 games, and now he is gone for this season. Would I rather play it safe as a GM? Yeah, I think I would at this point. I think you gotta get more out of these picks, and the more risky they are, the more dangerous they are. It really hurts your team if you can't cash in on them. And what hurt us last year was the quarterback play. We had a brief moment of goodness out of Brian Hoyer, and then everything just kind of unraveled, pretty much starting with the injury to Alex Mack against the Steelers. But here we are with Johnny Manziel. He voluntarily went into rehab. Of course, he was being urged by his friends and family and inner circle and employer. But he did. He disappeared for a couple of months. And, he's recognizing that he's been a spoiled, addicted kid for a while, and he needed to get his S together. So, a couple months later, here we have Johnny Manziel. It's almost like we're drafting him for the first time. What do you really expect to see out of Johnny Manziel? Because his debut last year was not very great.
Oh, I mean, it's so hard to say. I guess you just want to see somebody who has command of the huddle, the respect of his teammates, and actually shows that he has command of the playbook. And I guess everything else. I mean, it's just so hard to say. I mean, he is a rare talent. The size problem is always going to be an issue. And you can always make the comparison to Drew Brees or Russell Wilson, but the two of them are actually much different kinds of people than what he is. So, I mean, maybe
people or player? Do you mean people or player when you say very different?
People, I think different. They're much more, I guess, mentally stable people than he is.
Mature,
and, I don't
maybe.
think that, and neither of them crave the limelight in the same way that he does,
Yeah,
or at least the same way that he did.
Yeah, that limelight goes away real quick if you're no longer a good player. That doesn't last forever. Like you're cool because you won the Heisman. You're not cool because you're Johnny Manziel. In fact, the act and all the money stuff, like people dislike that kind of stuff. Like they'll like you if you're on their team. But people don't want to see. People kind of get annoyed by that stuff. It's like you don't want to make it any easier on. I don't know. You don't want to make your life any harder. Is kind of what I'm thinking. So if push comes to shove, who's the week 1 starter for the Browns? You would say that guy is definitely on our team right now, and we're not going to draft a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round as a priority.
I'm not going to say that they wouldn't draft a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round, but I believe, frankly, I think that Johnny Manziel is your week 1 starter, barring just really coming into the OTAs and training camp and really falling flat on his face. But I think if he is level-headed and he shows commitment and shows the ability to learn and be coached, and he has already moved out of downtown Cleveland and into an area, hopefully, that is a little quieter and away from the party life. I mean, the tools are there. The Browns aren't the only team that wanted to draft Johnny Manziel in the 1st round. When the Browns moved up to get him, there were about 3 or 4 other teams that were all thinking the same thing. So he was drafted right around where he should have been drafted or where he was projected to be drafted. I mean, let's not forget, there were many mock drafts last year that had the Browns taking him with their number 4 overall pick. So, I mean, and then you look at the Justin Gilbert thing, and, I mean, he's not, and I'm not making excuses for him either, but I mean, he's not the first corner who has ever, had a less than stellar rookie year. I mean, that's why it's a little bit of a crapshoot. You roll the dice sometimes, but once again, he's a player that, in Justin Gilbert, who there were many mocks that had him ranked in the top 10, top 15. So for the Browns to grab him at number 9, like they did, I mean, it's not really that far of a stretch where they got him. So, we'll see what we get out of each of those players. Hopefully, both of them can have bounce-back seasons. I think Justin Gilbert is in a more immediate is in a better situation to succeed just because of the fact that we brought in Tremont Williams to really take that Buster Screen role, and Gilbert doesn't necessarily have to be the starter. He doesn't have to be the man. He is supposed to be the man, but maybe that isn't his role. Look at Barkevius Mingo. So we'll just we'll see what we get out of these guys. But I think Johnny Manziel's your week 1 starter. I think they. I think that I don't think they draft a quarterback. I don't think that there's anyone here that really, is worth a whole lot of consideration. But I may be wrong. I've been wrong before. So
yeah, especially when it comes to the draft, it is pure speculation. It's silliness, really. And I was actually just going to say, I'm thinking what we should do is maybe we should do if it works for you, B. Maybe we could do another show like maybe, I don't know, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or something of next week, and maybe kind of talk about, all right, now we know the types of, now we know the guys we got. How do they fit in? What does it mean for our roster? It's just these preview shows. It's like, how much can you just guess? We're really just closing our eyes and pointing in the dark. But yeah, maybe
Mel Gibson's made a career out of it, right? Or Mel Gibson, Mel Kiper. Mel Gibson has made his career out of closing his eyes and pointing in the dark.
Well, I guess he did have that movie Conspiracy Theory, where it literally was taking headlines out of magazines and out of newspapers and circling things and connecting dots that may or may not have been there. But yeah, that's pretty funny.
And there are some people who think that was probably the primary method he used to direct The Passion of the Christ as well.
Yes, lots of questions.
I will close my eyes and point to where the blood will be.
I have pointed everywhere. That movie was brutal. That was just painful. It just kept going. Yeah. Anyway, but let's hope the Browns draft isn't painful. Let's hope that we really get some of these players that we need. Hope springs eternal in the minds of a Cleveland Browns fan, and maybe we can try to do this next week. I know, Brandon. I said only Browns. So here, I'll turn the music on. So we got our outro. But do you have any thoughts on the Cavaliers right now?
Disappointed that it looks like Kevin Love's going to be out for the rest of the season. Fortunately, it's not Kyrie or LeBron. I guess that's the main thing that you can say. I think that those are the only two losses that the team just simply wouldn't be able to absorb and still have any hope of being able to make it to the championship, much less winning it all. Definitely think it's going to be a harder road, especially because I think that in the playoffs here, Love was really starting to hit its stride a little bit. But, it's all about matchups and things like that, too. So, some favorable matchups that the Boston Celtics may have presented for Love. Maybe those same matchups might not have been there when he played the Chicago Bulls, or presumably the Chicago Bulls.
Maybe the
Bucks. The Bucks are trying to make a series of it. Yeah. But either way, there's nothing that you can do now other than just move forward. Injuries are a part of the game, and sometimes dirty plays happen. And I think that Olnick play, was kind of dirty, and unfortunate that the J.R. Smith kind of let his emotions get the best of him in the situation that developed with him as well. And I think it's a little ridiculous that he's suspended for 2 games, but I guess it's the nature of the rule. Frankly, when it comes to the Cavs, I think that it's great that the Bucks are taking it to the Bulls a little bit, and let that series go all the way to 7 games, because not only does it tire out the Bulls, but it also gives the Cavs more time to kind of figure out how to play without Kevin Love. And don't forget, for much of the regular season, Kevin Love was sitting out entire fourth quarters. So it's not like we were missing him at closing time a whole lot up until the last few games. What we're really missing from Kevin Love is that opening quarter, opening half production. So, we'll see what we can get out of Tristan Thompson. He's most likely going to be moving back into the starting lineup. Kendrick Perkins was a guy that was brought in here for depth and rode the bench for most of the season. So he's pretty fresh now that we're starting the playoffs. And, he's the type of player that you need in a physical series. You saw that he came in handy there in Game 4 versus Boston, and I'm sure that his physicality will come in handy when we're playing, once again, presumably the Bulls. That's going to be a good series. It'll be fun. So I still like the Cavs. I still think that they have what it takes, certainly, to get through the Eastern Conference, making it all the way to winning an NBA title. It wasn't a foregone conclusion before Kevin Love got hurt. So who knows what's going to happen now? I think we got to get a couple of the right bounces, so to speak, and just see what happens.
Brandon, that is one of the best synopses I've heard in many, many, many days. Kudos. I almost want to pull that out of the radio show just as a little synopsis on the Cavs' chances, because it was so good. I agree with so much of it. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. Brandon Odell, everybody. I'd pimp his Facebook or Twitter feed, but he doesn't want that, doesn't have that, doesn't need that. That's Brandon Odell. That's how he rolls. B, I appreciate you, and I'll reach out to you early next week. All right, buddy?
All right, that sounds good. Best to you and yours, and go Browns.
Go Browns.
Oh, hey, real quick, before we forget, we didn't get a chance to talk. Do we have time for a quick 2-minute extra overtime?
Yeah, let's pick a cool intro song. Check this out. Here, we'll do this. How about One More Moon? All right, everybody, welcome to Overtime with Brandon Odell. What's up, man?
Unis, what do you think?
I assume you're not talking about the Cleveland Indians uniforms and their lackluster intro to the year, because we didn't talk about that. And we didn't talk about how I was going to say, by the way, if Cardale Jones can win a title for the Buckeyes, I think Kyrie Irving and LeBron James can win a title for the Cavs. So everybody that's freaking out, just calm down. Like, we have two of the best players in the league. We got a really good chance at this. Anyway, unis. Wow. I like the brown and orange combination a lot. I like
brown tops, orange bottoms.
Variations of those. I think
Okay.
less white the better. What do you think?
I mean, I think just in general, I think they're cool. I love the the bold look of the Cleveland on the front. I think that it certainly is a new and interesting style. I love the fact that they have so many different color combinations they can go to. I think the white on whites look way nicer than the old ones did. That's for sure. I mean, let's face it, the white on whites were pretty much the when Holmgren was in charge, that was the only uniform they wore home or away.
That's terrible. Yeah, that's
and,
just horrible.
So, I think it's, just in general, I think it'll be fun to see what combination they roll out for their alternate jerseys. I think that the orange jersey, orange pant combination, possibly for Monday Night Football, would be an interesting choice. Let's face it, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the worst alternate jerseys in the history of the NFL. I think the 1894 prison inmate uniforms,
the jailhouse,
I think are pretty rough. They look like they're in a chain gang or something.
Brandon, I gotta tell you, I gotta say, we're gonna have to disagree on that. I think they are fantastic. I love those jerseys. I love them. I have always loved them. I think they're fantastic. I don't know why, but I love those jerseys. I just think they're the coolest thing. They're just totally weird, but it's all right. We don't all have to enjoy the steak. Yeah, try the lobster. But yeah, the Cleveland Browns are definitely taking that Oregonian, the Oregon Duck approach to really reinventing merchandise. You're looking at it, and it is an upgrade. It is a total change to the point where my old jersey really becomes an old jersey at this point. It is now a vintage Browns jersey because we're going to be seeing so many wacky colors and sizes and variations. I do. I think it's cool. I like it.
It'll certainly be interesting if they end up shocking the world and taking on Marcus Mariota, and then seeing how many Johnny Manziel jerseys end up getting donated to Goodwill within the next 2 weeks, huh?
Yeah, it is possible, but you really do. It is the same general manager that we had last year, so I'm guessing they brought in McCown he's the veteran that can play. Can he play well? Who knows? He's old. Just don't ask too much of him. I think it is Johnny Manziel's team. I kind of like Bryce Petty. I kind of like him if we could grab him at the right value. I don't know. Where's he going to go? Second round, something like that?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to get your thoughts about the unis. I think they're cool. I'm looking forward to getting to a couple of games this year and keeping my fingers crossed that maybe I'll end up at that Monday nighter versus Baltimore. So that's all I got.
All right, buddy.
Love and blessings and all that good stuff. And once again, go Browns.
Go Browns, B. We shall talk again soon. There he goes, everybody. Brandon Odell. The Browns uniforms. I know. Are you tempted to buy one? Did you buy one? I got one a few years ago with my name on it. I got my own last name and my high school football number. I just said, look, I'm never going to get traded. Never going to get suspended. I'm never going to drop the wide open touchdown pass. I root for laundry, doggone it. I root for laundry. For everybody here at the TNAM Radio Network, my name is Brian Engelman. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk again soon. Peace.
Hi, everybody. You're listening to Agree to Disagree with Brian Engelman, and this is John B. Wells reminding you that not only is Brian Engelman a cool guy, and not only is the NewAmericanMedia.com a very cool platform, but here's a cool idea for you, too. Are you alone? Not really. Do you like dogs? Do you like cats? You do. Of course you do. Everybody does. One or the other, maybe even both. You know, there are a lot of dogs and cats that are at shelters right now, and if somebody doesn't take them home, they're going to wind up euthanized. That's a nice way of saying they're going to be killed because there's simply not enough room. I guarantee it, the best dogs and the best cats, the best pets come from shelters. There's something about dogs and cats. They know. They know where they are. You walk through one of them, and certainly at least one is going to look at you and go, I wish you'd take me home. I'm in hell. Please take me out of here. It'll be the best thing that you ever did for your soul. You'll feel good about it. And not only that, but you have a friend for life. Doesn't matter if you got money, you don't have money. Well, it doesn't make any difference to a dog or cat. All they need is the sound of your voice and maybe even the stroke of your hand, and they're fine. Maybe a little food every once in a while. The sweetest sound that those pets ever hear is your voice. Think it over and adopt a cat or a dog from a local shelter today. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did.